Shalam. What is united in Christ? Begging you with these words, the Bible.
Go ahead.
Shalom, brothers united in Christ, back at you with more of this word. Last week we left off, we were on a topic talking about what power do we serve? And we're going to resurface that topic. We're going to continue with that lesson so it can still be understood what power do we serve, the Hebrew Israelites. Because we're not a religion, we're not a cult, we are the children of the Most High, His chosen nation, His chosen people, that royal priesthood. The children of the Lord are who you see on this board, right? The lost 12 tribes of Israel. Over here on the left, on our right, we have Judah, who are the so-called Negroes here in America that were brought over here in the transatlantic slave trade. We have Benjamin, West Indies, who were also brought in the transatlantic slave trades that were dropped off throughout the Caribbean. Levi, the so-called Haitians, same as well, transatlantic slave trade. And we have Simeon, the Dominicans, right? We have Zebulon, from Guatemala to Panama, that's Central America. We have Ephraim, you so-called Puerto Ricans. We have Manasseh, you Cubans, who was brothers to Ephraim. Father was Joseph. He was in Egypt. He was well known in Egypt, right? We have Gad, the North American Indians. We have Reuben, the Seminole Indians. Naphtali from Argentina to Chile. Asher from Colombia to Uruguay. We have Issachar, the so-called Mexicans. And these are the 12 tribes of Israel, the children of Israel, the Most High's chosen people. And we're speaking primarily, first and foremost, to our people. So let's continue with our lesson, right? Over here, I want you to start off with, first off, my line is Isaiah 43, so let's go there, right? Over here, I want you to start off with Exodus 2 and 23 to 25. Yep, 2 and 23, right? I want you to start off actually at the 23rd verse of the 43rd chapter, right?
Isaiah 42 and 23. Who among you will give ear to this?
Who among you will give ear to this, you so-called Negroes, you so-called Hispanics, and you so-called Native Americans? Who's going to give ear? Who's going to stop and listen, right? Continue.
Isaiah 42 and 23. Who among you will give ear to this? Who will hearken and hear for the time to come?
For the time to come. Now is the time now that we should be raising up, turning back to the Most High. That's the time that we're in now. We're in the last days. And pretty soon, Christ is going to come back, and He's not coming back again to sacrifice Himself. He's coming back for judgment, to serve us up for our wickedness. Right? Continue.
Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers?
These are questions. Who gave Jacob to the spoil and Israel to the robbers? Those are questions. Who did that? Who sold us in captivity? So-called Africans, but who let them serve us in captivity, right? Continue.
Isaiah 42 and 24. Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers?
Yep.
Did not the Lord, He against whom we have sinned?
Did not the Lord serve us? Did not the Lord give us for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord do these things? Of whom we went against? Of whom we sinned against? We transgressed against, right? Continue.
For they would not walk in His ways, neither were they obedient unto His laws.
For those Israelites would not walk in the Most High's ways, neither were they obedient to His laws. Same thing going on today. We're not walking in the ways of the Most High. We're disobedient to His ways, to His laws, right? Continue.
Therefore, he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger,
Yup.
and the strength of battle, and it hath set him on fire round about. Yet he knew not.
So all this trouble happens to us as a people, and yet we still don't consider this in our mind, right? Continue.
And it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
Not to heart, that's our mind. Yet we lay this not to heart, our mind. We don't consider these things. We don't consider why our children don't have a father. We don't consider why we have all these diseases on us as a nation. We don't consider why we're here in poverty. We don't consider that. We don't consider why we were sold in captivity in America. We don't consider these things, right? But the Bible has the answers, and we got to turn to it. We got to turn to the Most High, so now we know why these things happen to us, and we can turn from them and serve the Most High. Our power, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Continue.
Isaiah 43:1. But now, thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name.
Right.
Thou art mine.
Yep, all right, so let's just revisit a few scriptures, a couple scriptures from last week, so we can understand what we're talking about. So read that last verse again for me.
Isaiah 43:1. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine.
So the scripture says, but now thus saith the Lord that created thee, because it was the Most High that created us as a nation, right? So I want you to go over here to, yes, continue, stop, because we're going to look at when Moses spoke to, we're going to look at when the Most High spoke to Moses, telling him to go to the children of Israel and to preach to them and to let them know and to take them out of Egypt, right? To make them understand. But Moses was a little discouraged because he said, who am I? And what name should I tell them that this is all about, right? So let's read it.
Exodus 2:23. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. And they cried, and their cry came unto the Most High by reason of the bondage. And the Most High heard their groaning, and the Most High remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And the Most High looked upon the children of Israel, and the Most High had respect unto them.
So, the Israelites back in Egypt, we were in deep sorrow, in deep tribulations, deep troubles, and we cried unto the Most, we didn't cry unto the Most High, we cried aloud, and the Most High heard us, right? And then he remembered the covenant that he had with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So now go to 3:11.
Exodus 3:11. And Moses said unto the Most High, who am I that I should go before Pharaoh?
So stop right there, because the Most High chose a man. He chose a meek man. He chose a just man. And that was Moses, right? Continue.
And Moses said unto the Most High, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be the token unto thee that I have sent thee.
So stop right there. So the Most High was with Moses. He was with Moses when he went to the children of Israel to take them out of Egypt. And he was with us throughout that whole process, right? Of going through the Red Sea, right? Giving us his 10 commandments and plus, right? He was with us throughout that whole process. 40 years in the desert, 40 years in the wilderness. He was with us as a people, right? Continue.
And Moses said unto the Most High, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee when thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt. Ye shall serve the Most High upon this mountain.
Ye shall serve the Most High upon this mountain. Right? Continue.
And Moses said unto the Most High, behold.
Wait, hold on, stop right there. So the scripture says that we would serve the Most High upon the mountain, just like here in America. We are to serve the Most High in America, right? That's what we're supposed to do. But right now we're serving all these other gods, all these other religions. And that's not what we're supposed to do, right? Continue.
13. And Moses said unto the Most High, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them that the Most High of your fathers have sent me unto you, And they shall say unto me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them?
Right, continue.
And the Most High said unto Moses, I am that I am.
I am that I am. Continue.
And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am that have sent me unto you.
So it was I am. The Most High, it was I am. That was his name, I am. I am that I am. He had sent Moses to the children of Israel to take them out of Egypt. And I am is still here with us, the children of Israel, while we're here in America. Because the Most High will be with us when he takes us out of America, right? Continue.
Verse 15. And the Most High said, moreover unto Moses, thus sayest thou unto the children of Israel, the Lord power of your fathers.
Who are our fathers? The Lord power of your fathers. Because we identify with ourselves as being the descendants of the children of Israel. So who are our fathers, right? Continue.
The power of Abraham.
Power of Abraham, right?
The power of Isaac.
Isaac.
The power of Jacob.
Good.
Have sent me unto you.
So it was the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that sent Moses into the children of Israel. And he's still with us today, right? Continue.
This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
Good. Continue.
Go and gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, the Lord power of your fathers, the power of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done unto you in Egypt, and have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt, into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, into a land flowing with milk and honey.
So it was I am that I am. The power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that brought the children of Israel out of Egypt and brought them into a land, the Hittites, Jebusites, Perizzites. He brought them into a land flowing with milk and honey, right? Now I want you to go to Deuteronomy 7, chapter 7, 1 through 8. So let's fast forward, right?
Deuteronomy 7 and 1. When the Lord thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee,
Right?
the Hittites, the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
Right?
When the Lord thy power shall deliver them before thee,
Shall deliver them. He's going to deliver these other nations before us, right? Because he's going to give us their land, right? Continue.
thou shalt smite them, and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
We shall smite them and utterly destroy them. Make no mercy, make no covenant with them and show no mercy, right, unto the other nations that whose land they inhabited and soon to be, we were going to inhabit that land. But now we're out of that land, right? We're here in America, Central America, South America, throughout the Caribbean. That's where we are. That's not where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be in our land, Israel, serving the Most High, right? But we sinned. We sinned against the Most High, you children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. You sinned, right? Continue.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters shalt thou not give to their sons, nor his daughters shalt thou take unto thy son.
No mixed marriages. That's the way I was supposed to be set up, right? Continue.
For they will turn away thy sons from following me, that they may serve other powers. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly.
So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against us and destroy us suddenly if we were to make marriages with these other nations, because they would turn us away from the Most High to serve their gods, right? Continue.
Verse 5. But thus shall ye deal with them.
Right?
Ye shall destroy their altars,
Yeah.
and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord.
Unholy people unto the Lord, right? Continue.
Thy power, the Lord thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth.
So there is no equality. Above, that means above, higher, right? A higher stature. We were to be above all the people of the earth, right? But now we're on the bottom of the barrel because we choose not to serve the Most High, right? Continue.
Verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor chose you, because you were more in number than any people, for ye was the fewest of all people.
We were the fewest amongst all people, right? Continue.
But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he hath sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
It was because the Most High loved us, right? He showed grace into us. He loved us and he heard our cry in Egypt. He loved us and so that he would keep the covenant that he had with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? To multiply his seed, right? Good. Over here, go back to the Isaiah 43, read 1 down to 2.
Isaiah 43:1. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine.
Thou art mine, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Continue.
When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee.
When we pass through the waters, right? He's going to be with us. Continue.
And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee.
Right?
When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burnt, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee.
Right? So no harm will be done unto us, because the Most High is going to be with us. Hold that. I want you to give me Exodus 14, 10 through 31. Right? And then I want you to give me, over here I want Joshua 3 and 14 through 17.
Exodus 14 and 10.
Yes.
Exodus
Wait, hold
14.
on, wait. So let's look at an example when the Most High was with us, right? When we were in fear, right? The Most High was with us. He had us. He kept us. He kept us safe, right? So let's read it, right?
Exodus 14 and 10. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid.
Let's stop right there. So, you so-called Hispanics, Native, and you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you children of Israel, we were so afraid of the Egyptians and the Pharaoh. This was during Moses' time when he was bringing us out of Egypt. This was when the time where we crossed through the Red Sea. A lot of people don't believe that the Most High could split the Red Sea, and a lot of people walk through, right? A lot of people don't believe that, but it's recorded in the Bible, and we believe that because we have faith in the Most High. We have faith that that'll happen, right? Good, continue.
The Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord.
Right? They cried out unto the Lord, their power. They didn't cry out to any other powers. They didn't cry out to the gods in Egypt, whom they blindly served, because they served the Egyptians in Egypt. They didn't cry out to those powers, but they cried unto their power, right? The Most High, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the power that they cried out unto, right? Continue.
Exodus 14 and 11. And they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness.
Now they're speaking slick though, right? Because now they're saying to Moses, why did you take us out of Egypt? Why? So that because there was no graves there, so now we're to die in the wilderness? They're speaking slick, right? Continue.
Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt?
Continue.
Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians?
Real slick. Same thing they say in America. Because we serve the white man, right? We as a people choose to serve the so-called white man because we don't have any faith in the Most High, right? So now we're serving his gods. Now we're serving him, right? Good, continue.
Is it not this word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
Speaking real slick, continue.
And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not.
Fear ye not. Don't fear what's going to happen because the Most High got you. He's going to protect you. Hold that. Go back to Isaiah 43 and 1. Read 2.
Isaiah 43 and 2, when thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee.
But the children of Israel didn't understand that until it actually happened. They didn't believe that, right? Good, continue.
When thou walkest,
Stop right there.
Exodus 14 and 13. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord,
Right.
which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever.
You shall see them again no more because something was going to happen to them, right? Good, continue.
The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace.
The Most High is going to fight for us, and we're going to hold our peace, right? Same thing going on today. The Most High is fighting for us, right? We're not doing our own fighting. It's not about us. It's about the Most High. And He's going to have our back if we choose to serve the Most High and only Him, right? Continue.
Exodus 14 and 15. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward.
Speaking to the children of Israel so that they can go forward, not backward, to serve the Egyptians in Egypt, but forward so they can go into the land flowing with milk and honey to serve the Most High, their power, right? Continue.
But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
Good, continue.
And I beheld, and I behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them.
Right.
And I will give me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, and upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen.
Good. So, even when the Most High told Moses to split the Red Sea so that there could be dry ground for the children of Israel to walk through, the Egyptians were going to see it. And they weren't going to turn back because of what was going on, but the Most High hardened their hearts. So they followed after the children of Israel so that they could take them back to Egypt, or so that they could slaughter them, right? But the Most High didn't allow that to happen, right? He hardened their hearts and they followed after the children of Israel, right? Continue.
Exodus 14 and 18. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord.
Right.
When I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen.
Continue.
And the angel of the Most High, which went before the camp of Israel,
Right.
removed and went behind them. And the
Right.
pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them.
We're gonna stop right there because throughout this process of the children of Israel going to that land flowing with milk and honey, they were being led by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. So that cloud went behind them for a reason. It went behind them. It was no longer in front, but it went behind them for a reason, right? Continue.
And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel.
Right.
And it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by the night to these, so that one came not near the other all the night.
That was the reason why. So that now it can separate the Egyptians from the Israelites so that they can't move forward, right? Continue.
And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night,
Right.
and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided.
So he cut it in half. The land, the waters were cut in, the waters were cut in half so that now it's dry land for the children of Israel to walk upon. All this happened during the nighttime, right? When it was dark, right? Continue.
And the children of Israel went in the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on their left.
Continue.
And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen.
Because if you can remember, the Most High hardened their hearts, so they continued to follow after the children of Israel in the Red Sea, right? Continue.
And it came to pass that in the morning watch,
Right.
the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians,
Right.
and took up their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians.
So now they're starting to consider it in their mind, oh man, what's going on? Our wheels are off, right? Go back there. Our wheels are off. And it was extremely heavy, right? Everything was heavy. Everything was going on. The Most High was making things happen now, right? Continue.
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen.
So the Most High told Moses to divide it, and now he's telling them to bring the water back together so that now it can destroy the Egyptians that followed after the children of Israel, right? Continue.
And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea.
Right?
And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them.
So the Most High destroyed the Egyptians that followed after the children of Israel, because the Most High was with the children of Israel in their tribulation. He had them. He had their back, right? Go back to that Isaiah 43 and 2.
Isaiah 43 and 2. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, Through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee.
Good, stop right there. Go back. Yes. To the Exodus. Right where I left off? Yes.
Exodus 14 and 28. And the waters were, and 29. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea. And the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left.
Right, because the Most High was with them, right? Continue.
Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord.
So, my question is, after seeing all this happen, right, Moses splitting the Red Sea by the power of the Most High, how can you not serve the Most High and choose to believe in Him? After seeing all that happen, how can you not choose to continue in His law, statutes, and commandments? How can you choose to turn away from the Most High after seeing His wonderful works? I don't understand that. How can we choose in America to see all the tribulation, destruction happening to our people? How can we choose not to turn back to the Most High, who saved us out of Egypt? That's a question that we need to pose to ourselves, to our nation, the children of Israel. After seeing all this happen, after reading about it in the history book that is about us, how can you choose not to serve the Most High? It doesn't make any sense. We got to turn the things around and we got to start serving the Most High so He can save us out of America, out of South America, out of Central America, out of wherever we are in captivity. Right? I will do that if we turn back to Him and serve Him. Good. You can drop that. Over here I want Joshua 3 and 14 through 17. This is another example of when the Most High was with us, right? Continue.
Joshua 3 and 14. And it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to the place, and it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people.
Good, because Jordan was another river that the children of Israel passed through, right? Continue.
And as they that bear the ark were coming to Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark was dipped in the brim of the water,
right?
For Jordan overflowed all his banks at that time of harvest.
Good, stop right there. Go back to the Isaiah 43 and 2.
Isaiah 43 and 2. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with you. Through the rivers, they shall not overflow.
Good, stop right there. Continue.
Verse 16.
Hold on, because the Most High was going to be with us during this time as well. During after Moses, right? He was going to be with us still, right? To keep us, to protect us as a people, right? Continue.
That the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon a heap very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zartan. And those that came down towards the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, fell and were cut off.
Right.
And the people passed over right against Jericho.
Continue.
And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground.
On dry ground, right?
In the midst of Jordan.
In the midst, in the midst of the river, in the midst of the sea, these people passed through on dry ground, right? Isn't that a wonderful work? Isn't that a wonderful work? Right? Continue.
And all the Israelites passed over on dry ground.
Right?
Until all the people would pass clean over Jordan.
Good. Now go to 7.
Chapter 4, verse 7. Then shall ye answer them that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when they passed over Jordan. The waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever.
Right?
And the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded. Joshua 1 and 1. Joshua 4 and 1. And it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over Jordan,
right,
that the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, Take ye 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man,
right,
and command you them, saying, Take you hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones.
Out of the midst of Jordan, that sea, out of the midst of Jordan, take ye 12 stones. Because there was a reason for those 12 men out of every tribe to take those stones, right? Continue.
And ye shall carry them over with you, and lead them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night. Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel, out of every tribe a man. And Joshua said unto them, pass over before the ark of the Lord, your power in the midst of Jordan.
Right?
And take ye up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel.
Which were 12, right? Continue.
That this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in the time to come, saying, what mean you by these stones?
So this was the reason why those 12 men were to take the 12 stones out of Jordan, was so that the children was so that the fathers of the children that were to ask what were the reason for these stones, they were going to give a response, an answer for the reason, right? Continue.
Then shall ye answer them that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord.
Right?
When they passed over Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever.
So those stones were for those stones were for a memorial for us to remember that the Most High cut off the waters, so that we walked through that dry land, Jordan. So that we walked on dry land through Jordan, right? But now, children or people don't even ask these type of questions anymore. They ask, when's the next game coming on? When's Christmas coming? What am I getting for Christmas? They ask all these type of questions that don't pertain to the Most High, and they ask worldly things. And that's our issue as a people, because we choose to ask those type of questions. We don't want to know the history of our forefathers. We want to know the history of other people. That's what they teach us in school, right? They only teach us a little bit of our history. They don't go back too far. They only teach you that there was people from one land, right? And some other people from another land came over, took those people, not from this land, but in this land, and they brought them over to another land. That's the only bit of history that they teach us, right? About us, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's the only history that they teach you. But the history that we need to start asking, what goes back further than that, right? Who are my forefathers, right? Which are, go back to that, I want you to go to Exodus 3. Go to Exodus 3. They don't ask these questions. Who are our forefathers? What's the power that we serve? What's the power that we're supposed to serve? They don't ask these questions, right? 15.
Exodus 3 and 15. And the Most High said, moreover, unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, the Lord power of your fathers, the power of Abraham, the power of Isaac, and the power of Jacob have sent me unto you.
Right?
This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations.
Right? This was also a memorial unto all generations. You so-called Negroes, so-called West Indies, so-called Native Americans, right? This was supposed to be your memorial, but we don't ask these type of questions to know our history. We want to know everybody else's history, right? Continue over here.
Joshua 4 and 8. And the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded,
Right?
and took up 12 stones out of the midst of Jordan.
No, hold that. Go over, I want you to read. 22.
Joshua 4 and 22. Then ye shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land.
Right?
For the Lord your power dried up the waters of Jordan from before you until you were passed over, as the Lord your power did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we were going over.
Until we were going over, right? Good. Over here I want Psalms 114, 1 through 3, and over here I want you to read 2 Ezra 13, 41 through 44. Right? Read it.
Psalms 114 and 1. When Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of strange language.
That's Egypt, right? Continue.
Judah was a sanctuary,
right?
And Israel is dominion.
Because we were one, right? There were no two kingdoms, but we were one nation. You so-called Negroes, West Indies, and Native Americans. I'm going to keep on saying that because you are the Lord's people. You are the Lord's chosen people, right? He's your power, right? Continue.
Psalms 114:3. The sea saw it and fled.
Right?
Jordan was driven back.
Good. Stop right there. Bring it over here. Because this also happened when I mentioned that we weren't supposed to be two kingdoms, but this happened when the northern kingdom fled from all the heathen to go to another land to serve the Most High. But they had to get to that land by a certain way. Right? Continue. Read it.
41. Exodus 13:39. And whereas thou saw that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him.
Right?
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king, who Shalam the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the borders. And so came they into another land.
Stop right there. So that another peaceable multitude that was seen, it was the so-called Dominicans, the so-called Guatemalans and Panama, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Cubans, North American Indians, Seminole Indians, Argentina to Chile, Colombia to Uruguay, and you Mexicans. And of course, half the tribe of Levi. Those were the people that we're reading about right now, right? That were in the Assyrian captivity and then they left to another land, right? Continue.
But they took this counsel among themselves,
Right?
that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
That's over here in America. No one dwelt here before the so-called Native Americans, right? No one dwelt here in America, Central America, and South America, right? We'll continue.
That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
So, what makes you think that you can keep the commandments that were given to you in another land when you didn't even keep them in your own land, where you weren't in captivity, right? When you weren't forced to go against the ways of the Most High? What makes you think that you're going to go into another land and serve the Most High? Then the land that the Most High gave to you, right? He chose this land, flowing with milk and honey, for you to serve the Most High, right? Continue.
2nd Ezra 13 and 43. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river.
Right?
For the Most High then showed them signs for them, and held still the floods that they would pass over.
Because the Most High was still with them, right? Good, hold that. No, you're gonna drop that. You're gonna go to, I want you to give me Daniel 3:16-30.
Isaiah 43:1. But now, thus saith the Lord, that created thee, O Jacob,
Right?
and he that formed thee, O Israel.
Right?
Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee.
Right?
When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burnt, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee.
So let's read about that as well. So when we walk it through the fire, we won't be burnt because the Most High is going to be with us to protect us through all those trials and tribulations. So let's go to an example that literally we had some men walking through fire and the Most High was with them, right? Bring it over here. Stop for a second. This was during the Babylonian captivity where there were a few men chosen by the king of Babylon to do some work for him, right? And they were in high favor with the king, right? But the Most High, but the king of Babylon ordered a decree that he would set up a golden image for everyone to bow down and to worship. And those that didn't bow down and worship, the king would burn them with fire, right? Read it. Oh, hold on, excuse me. And so then some of the Babylonians told the king that there were a few men of Israel that didn't serve and didn't bow down to that golden image. So they snitched, right? Snitching is appropriate when you're choosing not to serve against the most, when you're choosing not to serve against the Most High, which our people didn't do. We didn't let the elders in Israel know when our son or our brother or our daughter or our wife told us. You know what? Go to that. Deuteronomy 13. Let's just read it, right? From scripture, right? Deuteronomy 13.
13:6. Deuteronomy 13:6. If thy brother, thy son, thy mother, or thy son, or thy daughter, or the wife of thy bosom, or thy friend, which is as thine own soul, entice thee secretly, saying, let us go and serve other powers, which thou hast not known, thou nor thy fathers.
All right?
Namely, of the powers of the people which are round about you, nigh unto thee, or far off from thee, from the one end of the earth, even unto the other end of the earth. Thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him. Neither shall thine eye pity, neither shalt thou spare. Neither shalt thou conceal him.
But we didn't do this, right? Because they were our loved ones, right? We didn't give them up so that they can be destroyed because they chose not to serve the Most High and because they enticed us to do the same thing and not serve the Most High, right? Good, so let's bring it over here.
Daniel 3:16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said unto the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter.
Right, continue.
If it be so, our power, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace.
Right,
And he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king.
right.
But if not, be it known unto thee, king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship thy golden image, which thou hast set up.
Because the Most High was the only power that we were to serve. The power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The power who we serve, and the only power that we serve. We don't serve other powers. We're not into religion, but we serve the one true power. And that's the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am that I am. That's the power that we serve. Right? Continue.
Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Because they were in high favor with him, right? But it was changed against them when they said what they said, that they weren't going to serve his powers and they were only going to serve the Most High power and that he would deliver them out of the fire, right? Of the furnace, right? Continue.
Therefore, he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 1/7 times more than it was wont to be heated.
Right?
And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace.
Right?
Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosens, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
But what happened to those men that were to bind Meshach, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Something happened to them, right? Continue.
Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
They were destroyed, right? Continue.
And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
So you would think that these three men would be killed because now they're in a fire in a furnace. You would think that, but the Most High was with them, right? He protected them. Continue.
Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto the counselors, Did not we cast three men bound in the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king.
Right?
He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of Man, the Son of the
Christ.
Most High.
That was Christ, right? Continue.
Then Nebuchadnezzar Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High Power,
Right?
come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire.
So they stepped out of the fire, right? Because they were to be destroyed and killed. But the king of Babylon saw that nothing happened to them. There were 4 men in the midst of the fire, and they were walking about, no harm done unto them. And he wondered at that, right? So continue.
And the princes and governors and captains and the king's counselors being gathered together saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power,
Right?
nor was a hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them.
Because the Most High was with them, right? The Most High protected them, right? The angels of the Most High encamped around these 3 men to hold them up so that nothing would happen to them because they chose to serve the Most High, right? And the Most High would do the same thing for us if we choose to serve the Most High, because right now, we're in a fire right now, America, and we're being destroyed because we choose not to serve the Most High. But if we turn it around, the Most High is going to protect us in the fire that we're in, right? Continue.
Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego,
Right?
who have sent his angel and delivered his servants that trust in him,
Right?
and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies.
Right? Hold on right there. That trusted in the Most High. They didn't trust in the king. They didn't trust in that golden image, but they trusted in the Most High that he would save them and protect them and deliver them out of that fire. Bring that back. Bring that back over here, right, to 17.
Daniel 3:17. And if it be so, our power, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king.
He will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. They had faith, right? They had confidence, right? They believed in the Most High, right? Same thing that we should have. We have confidence. We have confidence every weekend that we come out here and we preach this word. For you so-called Negroes, West Indies, and Native Americans, Hispanics, we have confidence. We have confidence that the Most High is going to turn around and deliver us out of this fire that we're in. We have confidence, and you should have confidence as well. Because the Most High, his word is good, right? His word doesn't fail. He keeps what he promises on, unlike man, right? Continue. Bring it back over here.
Daniel 3:28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego,
Right.
who have sent his angel and delivered his servants that trust in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any power except their own power.
Except their own power. Blessed be the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because they served the same power, right? They were of the same mind. Different times, but they served the same power the same way, right? Continue.
Verse 29. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which spake anything amiss against the power of Shadrach,
Right?
Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces,
Right.
and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other power that can deliver after this sort.
Right?
Then it
Good,
came-
good stop right there. So, let's see if that can happen today in America, because we have the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and a lot of people blaspheme the name of the Most High. Who's going to raise up and say anyone that speaks against the name of the Most High, they're going to be destroyed? Will Obama do that? No, because they choose to serve the devil, but we choose to serve the Most High, right? And in that new kingdom, anyone that speaks against the Most High, which they won't even be in the kingdom, right? Because we're all going to be of the same mind, with Lord willing, with the grace of the Most High, right? Anyone that speaks against the name of the Most High, same thing's going to happen. Read that verse again.
Daniel 3:29. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which spake anything amiss against the power of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces,
Right.
and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other power that can deliver after this sort.
Right?
Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.
And they were blessed, right? So anyone to speak against the Most High, they were to be cut in pieces, right? Right? Bring it over here to that Isaiah 43.
Isaiah 43,
What do you want, 201? Yes, just 2.
Isaiah 43:2. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burnt, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee.
Go back to that. So now let's read the same thing that happened in the Apocrypha, right? This was a prayer that one of those men spoke, right? Read it.
Then Azariah, this is the song of the three holy children. Then Azariah stood up and prayed on this manner, and opening his mouth in the midst of the fire said,
So he prayed while he was in the midst of the fire, right? Continue.
Blessed art thou, O Lord, power of our fathers.
Power of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Continue.
Thy name is worthy to be praised and glorified forevermore. For thou art righteous in all the things that thou hast done to us. Yea, true are all thy works. Thy ways are right, and all thy judgments true.
Right?
And all the things that thou hast brought upon us, and upon the holy
Hold on,
city.
wait, go back in. Read that third verse again. Yep.
Verse 3, for thou art righteous, and all the things that thou hast done to us. Yea, true are all thy works. Thy ways are right, and all thy judgments true.
All thy judgments are true. Give me Deuteronomy 32:4, because the Most High is the power of truth, and all the ways of the Most High are judgment. So let's read that about the power that we serve, right? Because we serve this power. We only serve the power of truth, right?
Deuteronomy 32:4. He is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment.
Right?
A power of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is he.
Just and right is he, the power of truth, whose all his ways are judgment, right? Bring it back over here.
For thou art righteous in all the things that thou hast done to us. Yea, true are all thy works. Thy ways are right, and all thy judgments true. And all the things that thou hast brought upon us, and upon the holy city of our fathers, even Jerusalem, thou hast executed true judgment.
Right.
For according to the truth and judgment, didst thou bring all these things upon us because of our sins.
Because of our sins, the Most High cast judgment on us, right? Read the next verse.
For we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee.
For we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee. What does it mean to depart from the Most High, right? What causes us to depart from the Most High? Give me Ecclesiasticus 10:32-13. No, yeah. Ecclesiasticus 10:12-13.
Ecclesiastes 10:12. The beginning of pride is when one departed from the Most High.
Good, stop right there. So we were prideful. We chose to depart from the Most High. Continue.
Verse 12.
The beginning of pride is when one departed from the Most High, and his heart is turned away from his Maker.
Good, continue.
For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that have it shall pour out abomination.
Right?
And therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly.
Same thing that's going on over here, right? Same thing that's going over here. Because we were prideful, the Most High brought all these strange calamities on us. Same thing in America, right? Because we choose to be prideful against the Most High, right? And turn away from him, right? Continue.
The song of the three holy children, the 7th verse, the 6th verse, the 5th verse. For we have sinned and committed iniquity, departing from thee. In all things have we trespassed and not obeyed the commandments, nor kept them, neither done as thou hast commanded us,
Right.
that it might go well with us.
Same thing going on in America. We choose not to keep his commandments, right? Continue.
Wherefore, all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment.
Right?
And thou didst deliver us into the hands of the lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of the Most High, and to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world.
So it was the Most High that delivered us into the hand of the evil, of the wicked, into an unjust king, right? And it's the same thing. It's the power that's going to deliver us. We're going to skip all that. No. Continue.
Verse 9, and now we cannot open our mouths. We are become ashamed and reproach to thy servants
Right.
and to them that worship thee.
Continue.
Yet deliver us not up wholly for thy name's sake. Neither disannul thou thy covenant.
Right?
And cause not thy mercy to depart from us for thy beloved Abraham's sake, for thy servant Isaac's sake, and for thy holy Israel's sake.
For their sake, continue to have mercy on us, right? Uphold the covenant that you made with our forefathers, right? Because sooner or later we will turn to you to serve you, right? Continue.
To whom thou hast spoken and promised that thou wouldest multiply their seed as the stars of heaven and as the sand that lieth upon the seashore. For we, O Lord, are become less than any nation,
Right?
and be kept under this day in all the world because of our sins.
We are become less than any nation, right? Continue. And it's the same thing going on today. We don't even have our own land, right? We're less than any nation. We don't even have our own land. We don't even have our own language that we know and that we understand, right? Continue.
Neither is there at this time prince, or prophet, or leader, or burnt offering, or sacrifice, or oblation, or incense, or place to sacrifice before thee and to find mercy.
We don't even have that. We don't even have a place of sacrifice to sacrifice before the Most High. Christ was our last sacrifice, but during this time we didn't even have a place to sacrifice to the Most High, right? Because we were in captivity. Right? Continue.
Nevertheless, in a contrite heart and a humble spirit, let us be accepted.
In a contrite heart and in a humble spirit, let us be accepted, right? Go to that, St. John 4:24. In a contrite heart and in a humble spirit, because this is all a spiritual groove, right? This is all about the spirit. And we believe in the spirit, through the spirit of Christ, right? And it's through the spirit that we're going to get out, because we're not fighting. This is not about guns. This is not about war. But this is about the spirit, good against evil. Because this is a spiritual war that we're fighting. This is a spiritual battle that we're fighting. Right? Continue. Read that.
St. John 4:24. The Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
Must worship him in spirit and in truth, because he is a spirit and he is the power of truth. Hold that, go to that, St. John 8:29.
St. John 8:29.
This is Christ speaking right here, right? Continue, read it.
St. John 8:29. And he that sent me is with me, the Father. Excuse me. And he that sent me is with me. The Father have not left me alone.
Right? Because Most High was with Christ, right? Because he was obedient. There was a reason why the Most High was with Christ through everything that was going on, right? Read it.
And he that sent me is with me. The Father have not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him.
Good, continue. He do always those things that please him. He do always those things that please him. And if we're to be Christ-like, we should do all the things that please the Most High. Or else you're not Christ-like, or else you're a liar. And there's one thing that is guaranteed for liars. They don't enter into the kingdom of heaven. Right? Continue.
Verse 30. And he spake those words. And as he spake those words, many believed on him. Then said Christ to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed.
My disciples indeed. One more verse, read it.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
And with that, brothers united in Christ, Shalom.